Welcome to episode 1 of the AfterStory. This session is dedicated to the book that is very close to my heart, Bachelor's Wife and Other Stories. It is a collection of stories that I co-authored with Shweta Joshi. It is a collection of tales inspired by Ramayana. It is not a retelling, let's be clear about this. It is not that at all. We aren't interested in retelling the stories that our grandma told. It is not retelling the stories that that you already might have read right from Valmiki Ramayana, which is the grand arc of the promise, the exile, the abduction, the war, and the return. Right? We are interested in the people who fell through the cracks of that arc, because I think Ramayana in its core is about Ram's journey. Most of the characters that appear, they come, they play their part and go. But here we are looking at those people who fell through the cracks of that arc story of Ram, right? The unnamed, the forgotten. The epic never paused long enough to tell. For example, Ahalya, she was frozen in stone for centuries. Shabari, she was waiting all her life in a forest. Hanuman, who forgot what he was capable of at some point. Indrajit, who was brilliant, but we don't know what sort of life he lived. He was a very invisible person. And then Ram himself. Ram has been elevated so much in terms of his divinity and true worship, but do we really know the man behind the title, divinity? So the man has almost become unreachable. So these are not really retellings, but these are all the after stories. So the questions that we are trying to ask are: what happens when the epic moves on, to the characters who are left behind, and then what happens to those who lived in the shadows and silences? If you look at Ramayana, Ramayana is not an endless text. It is not a straightforward story, right? Most of us have read the Kronos part of it, where the story flows from one action to another, one act to another, one episode to another. But what about the Kairos part, the things that happen inside a character, right? Every character has a shadow, and every moment has a silence. And when Shweta and I came together for this collection, we realized that we are looking at something in terms of the space between words, the gap between the slokas, the untold and unsaid part of a particular character. We're not looking at the heroes, we're not looking at the characters as heroes or gods. We are looking at them as people who witnessed, waited, served, suffered, and who loved, like humans. And this was never named by the epic, right? And therefore, to explore these characters and situations, we chose to tell the story in a short story format. So the brevity allows focus to turn on the spotlight of a character on a character or a situation, and it also helps build intensity. A short story does not have to explain everything. It can hold on to a single moment. It can sit with a character, a single silence, and then go through the motions slowly enough for the reader, to really sit with the character and or the situation and understand how it. Some examples, right? There is a wife who is not Sita. There is a soldier who is not Hanuman. There is a witness, who never gave a name. So there are characters who are key and instrumental to push the story forward, but they also had their moments in the story. So these are not rebellious, but in fact these are echoes that are heard when you pause and slow down. Ramayana, in its essence, tells, as I told, the Kronos part of it, what really happened, and these stories are like Kairos. What does it feel like inward for each of these characters? So this is where I also want to connect with Shweta Joshi, who is our co-author. She is part of. She's been part of this journey for 3 years. So let's listen to her. So we will switch to my conversation with her, which happened just a while ago. Shweta and I co-authored this book, and she's joining us now. Hi, Shweta.
Hi, Ashok. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and I think she is the better half of this project. From the first draft to the final book, she carried the baton, and I was just enjoying the ride. And she brings in her distinct perspectives to this book. So, Shweta, tell me what drew you to this book, and uh, why why did you pick this book, and why you felt this book could make a difference?
Yeah, that's an interesting question, Ashok. And people keep asking me, why did I join this book? Why did I join this book rather as a co-author? Just, the book started with that one story, the King in the Armor. And when he narrated the story, and I heard the perspective of Ravana, I realized there are more such characters in Ramayana, which either people do not know about or have not explored their psychological side or what's the turmoil going within them. So I thought this could be a good theme if we start working on it, and that's how I joined the project.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. And what did you find different from the? I think you are an exponent in Ramayana because you have read multiple versions of it, including Valmiki, then Tulsidas Ramcharitamanas. So, what did you feel that while you were doing the project and once we finished it, what did you feel that was different in terms of what we actually achieved?
Yeah. So when we talk about the historical storytelling, where Ramcharitmanas or Valmiki Ramayana or different other Ramayanas, which are written like 500 years ago or prior to that, they carry the perspective of Rama, the King Ram, the Lord Ram, the Bhagwan Ram. They carry the perspective of Rama. The contemporary work that we see today, maybe on Ahalya, or maybe on Shanta, or maybe on Sita, are from their perspective. Here, we were creating a work which has short story section, and then there is a novella section. So the short story sections were carrying the perspective of all the major characters in a single story. So that's how you have all the perspective at one place without dissolving the essence of the epic.
Wonderful, wonderful. But tell me, why did you feel that the short story format was more adapted to this this book? Most of the epics are like long novellas. They run to multiple thousands of lakhs of shlokas, but here we adapted a short story format. And why do you think that felt more appropriate?
Right. So, first thing first. So, we were actually picking up something which was very difficult, because when you write a book on one subject, it is easier because there is perspective and you write on that. When you write something like this, what we have done, for every story, you have to do a deep research to understand the story, to understand the character, and to understand their perspective. So, that was a difficult part. But it makes the reading easier. The reader does not have to go and pick around 10 different books to understand the 10 different perspectives. So while it was difficult for us as researchers, as writers, it becomes easier for the reader to have different perspective at one place. So in that sense, it is different from what we have in the market today.
Yeah, and so you brought in a lot of your own value add additions to the book. You pushed back in some points. You were very particular in terms of the, I think, the Hindi heartland version. You know what I mean? The core
Correct.
core of I mean around the Ayodhya. Especially uh,
Correct, correct, correct.
the that part of the version, if I may call Hindi heartland. I'm more
Correct.
geographically covering that, which has the composition
Mhm.
of culture. But why do, I mean, what did you feel that, what was the difference there?
So, so I'll tell you, um, beyond borders or beyond geography. So I have seen Ayodhya, where Bhagwan Ram is worshipped as Lala. Lala is a child, your child, um, the youngest most in the family. So they sometimes treat Lord as their own child, and they have different emotions. So where I live in Bhopal, I mean my hometown, we have a place in MP which is Orcha. Now Orcha, there's a temple which worships the only King Ram version of Sri Ram, not Lord Ram, not Lala, not anybody else. He is worshipped as Raja Ram.
Okay, Rajaram.
And
Oh,
then, yeah, and not very far from your place, we have Rameshwaram,
right.
where Ram is worshipped as devotee of Lord Shiva. So different areas, the story remains same, but people's attachment to one single entity or their emotions towards one single entity changes. And um, without bifurcating it, I enjoyed the stitching work, how you stitch emotions and bring geographies together.
Wonderful, wonderful. And tell me something, as a co-author and editor, and also creative advisor, you've worn
Hmm.
multiple hats during this journey. Can you briefly tell me in terms of, how you managed all these roles, and and how did you enjoy it?
So, to be very frank, being a critic or being a analyzer is very, very natural to me. So when I read a story or when I read a piece of paper, when I read an article, I have this habit of asking why. I have this natural habit of asking questions so that I get the most genuine answers. So here also it started with why. Why are we writing it? What are we writing? And then what is the basis of the writing? Why did you pick that up? So all these questions are very, very important for me. And then once I picked up the role, it was very gradual but natural slip into different caps. For example, if we wrote one story or you wrote rather one story, and when the narration happened, I had my own questions, and then I'd go back to do my own research, and then I read okay, two, three more scriptures, and then I underline them, and then I would come back. Okay, can we do it this way and not this way, or the backstory is this and not this, and since we are from the different geography, the folk story or the storytelling in South could be very, very different from what is there in North or vice versa. So we then have to, sit and put a brain that where did the story actually happen? Does this story happen in North or the incident happen in the South? So if it happened in South, we'll take the South version. If it happened in North, we'll take the Northern version. And then we
Right.
also have to sail the book.
Absolutely. And and if you were to pick up couple of points, I think touch upon one point where you pushed back on. Remember we had many sort of back
Many
and forth.
incidents, right?
But can you recall one such incident that you were very particular about?
So there was one this there were a couple of incidences. One incidents where we were describing Lakshman Rekha, and you
I
remember?
remember that. Yes, 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 yes. The
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
limestone thing, right?
So there is one version. There's no Lakshman Rekha, and there's another version that there is Lakshman Rekha, and then there's some stories say he drew the rekha with the arrow, but incidentally, as it would have happened, it was written limestone. I said, how did limestone came there? So
Right.
now I'm laughing at it, but yeah, it was a serious thing for me because you have to be factually correct. We will have our own, creative liberty, but there's some things have to be factual.
Factual.
So yeah,
And it should be logical also, it should fit into the
yeah,
world.
logical also, right?
Right. And wonderful, wonderful. And tell me, I think as we go into the next episode, we are going to explore characters that linger, which is the next episode. And in that, if you have to pick one character that you want to discuss in the next episode, we have got multiple characters. I think we all felt at every point in time, this character is probably the most interesting character when we read or write or edited. Uh, Pick up one character before we sign off for this episode.
So now that I'm so involved in this book, there are so many characters that are favorite now, and every story has
Pick
its
one, pick
own
one, no? Pick one.
hero. So I would then I have this tie. Either we can pick up Ahalya or we can pick up Hanuman.
Ahalya or Hanuman. Okay, so I think both are, in fact, a part of the next episode's
Yeah,
agenda. We will cover both Ahalya and Hanuman so that we don't pick one or the other, and there are more. So, thank you, Shweta, for your time. And again, it's wonderful meeting you in this format. This is not text, this is video, and we are trying this out. We have done this before, but this is again new for Bachelor's Wife. So thank you for
correct, correct, correct.
being for this episode and sharing your views. So you just heard from Shweta as well that this collection is different. Our experiences are personal, our explorations are personal. It is about the slow journey of living with the characters and sitting with them and understanding the situations. And therefore, these are after story. What happens after epic ends, right? The war is won, the gods have moved on. So we will look at some of the characters that linger, the one that you can't forget after the story ends. And if you have read the book, let us know what characters that have stayed with you. If not, we will share some of our own experiences here. So you can leave a comment, reach out on LinkedIn or Instagram, or just sit with the question and watch the next episode. This is the After Story, episode 1, and this is Ashok Subramanian signing off.